So I'm in a parking lot today right by Main and Yorktown. We've been here before. The old grain silos that we visited last year are behind me. The mansion on the hill was up there. But last time we were here, there was a piece of history that we didn't uncover. Today, all of that changes.
I'm Chris Epting. I'm an author and storyteller, and I love the history of Huntington Beach, especially the hidden history. For the past 2 seasons, we've helped uncover many little-known stories that help illuminate the past. Now, join us as we dig deeper to discover even more secrets. Welcome to Hidden Huntington Beach, Season 3. The Huntington Beach Company was founded back in 1903 when Henry Huntington purchased Pacific City. They built the water system, installed electric lights, and created all of the roads. In 1920, they became heavily involved in oil, and today, although wholly owned by the Chevron Corporation, they are still a major landowner in the city. Rick Blake is a well-known Huntington Beach artist with a deep appreciation for history. Bill Holman is a former employee of the Huntington Beach Company who also loves history. Today, both of these guys are generously sharing their images of the area where the Huntington Beach Ranch and the company headquarters used to exist.
Well, guys, first of all, thank you for joining me here today. In a parking lot by Main and Yorktown, there is a reason for this. Rick, the idea for the episode started with some images that you shared. Talk a little bit about the cache of information, maps and photos that you acquired not too long ago.
Yeah, well, I came upon this fellow named Jason Smock, who he saw me on an Instagram page that I was doing like surfing history, and he said, "Hey, I used to work for the HB company. I have all these photos and slides. Would you like them?" And I was like, "Yes, please." So yeah, he came over, gave me this old box, and he said he was working there at the end of the Huntington Beach Company's years, and he just picked this stuff up because they're going to throw it away. And it's amazing, all this stuff.
Rick, you've spent some time out here today. I've watched you lining up trees that still exist from the old photos. Talk a little bit about what you've noticed today and what you've been lining up.
It was really interesting. We were looking at one of these pictures. It's a long view of where the rancho was and where the old house was. And so there's a tree right there. There's an old century palm tree, and then we look, and there it is, and it's a little bit taller now. But I mean, what's so great is that there's these things that are just sitting right in front of us that are so old. Everything else is built around, and now there's this one piece of ancient history that's still there. It's been left. I love that kind of stuff.
Me too. And where we are right now, most people probably realize that the silos that we identified in a previous episode are over there. The old Northam Ranch mansion would be up on the hill there. We're in the parking lot here, and the Huntington Beach Company had a lot of structures around here, right where we're standing today. And Bill, that's where you kind of enter the picture, because talk a little bit about your personal history with the company.
Okay, yeah, and I had seen Rick's pictures that he posted of the old Huntington Beach Ranch and the oil wells and what used to be the company offices that I worked in for 15 years right over here behind you. I came to work for Huntington Beach Company in 1981, and at that time a lot of this area was just being built. The Civic Center was finished in 74, Shopping Center 76, the office park started, and then you have the ranch behind you. So when I saw his pictures, I said, I know exactly where those are.
And you spent a lot of time here, obviously, working here every day. The office where you work would have been basically right where we are right now?
Right. It was a little white old farmhouse. Actually sat kind of out in the middle of Yorktown.
And there was like a picket fence, a rail fence,
rather. White picket fence around it, right?
Yeah.
It was a very homey little office. And, we spent a lot of time there, and that's where we did our work.
What did you do for them?
I came over to help with the land planning for all the new development over in the oil fields. So when I started this particular area, which was being converted from an old cattle and sheep and horse ranch into a large residential community called Pacific Ranch, interestingly enough. And then the office park was just being constructed at that time. Seacliff Village had just been completed in the mid-70s. City Hall had just been completed. And I spent most of my time planning out what was going to happen from there on.
Bill, you worked in what they called the mansion up on the hill. I mean, you would go up there and visit from your office. Tell us a little bit, for those of us that weren't there, kind of paint a picture of what it was like to visit that building.
It was a beautiful grounds. The trees, everything had been up there since the turn of the century. The house itself was a little bit run down over the years, But we had some great times up there, and it was always very good host for Christmas parties and things like that. It looked pretty interesting from the outside. Inside, I would say it was nothing special. Had an old tiny galley kitchen, a lot of remodels over the years, and it was a fun place to gather, and the grounds were incomparable.
Rick, did you ever get a chance to see the house up there?
No, I never got to see it.
Burned down, I think, in 2000 was the fire. And there's a beautiful park, of course, up there now, which, again, if you haven't visited it, I think really gives you a nice sense of old Huntington Beach, kind of early Huntington Beach, what would have been like up there. And in addition to the beautiful property and landscaping, there was a very world-renowned Cactus Garden, right? And you knew the gentleman who created it.
Right. So the general manager for the Huntington Beach Company back in the 50s was a gentleman named J. Sherman Denny. A very nice old man.
Did you know him?
I did, yeah.
Wow.
I met him a couple times. Just the consummate gentleman, always had a joke. And he was a big aficionado of succulents. And so when he was here living at the home, he created this beautiful succulent garden.
If people don't know, back in the 1930s, it was a tourist attraction. It would be used on Chamber of Commerce maps to go visit the garden up there.
Right. It's probably comparable to the botanical gardens over in Avalon that Wrigley planted.
Right.
Back in the day.
There would be competitions up there, and there was this whole other world up there. So you met him. Do you remember the garden at all being up there?
I do, although it was many years later when it was sort of on the slope going up the hill. So there were some great old specimens there that probably aren't there today.
Guys, we're out here today, beautiful blustery day in Huntington Beach, in a parking lot. People are kind of giving us weird looks about what we're doing here. Why does this matter? Why does standing here at the exact site of a former building, talking history, why is it important to you guys? I know why it matters to me, but I'm curious what you guys think.
Well, yeah, I mean, this rancho was the only thing. It was really the beginning of Huntington Beach. So this northern ranch was the center, and there was nothing else around. It was up on a hill. A lot of people don't realize you could see all the way to the ocean from here, and now everything's blocking it. But that view, that old school California, dream, the rancho, just looking off to the distance, seeing, things being grown and horses, and that is something that used to be here in Huntington Beach. I think a lot of people would love to learn about that and know about it and see pictures, or maybe see a painting being done of what it used to look like. I love that.
I hope you do that painting, I really do. How about you? But why do you think it matters to be out here on a day like today doing this?
Oh, I just think it's fascinating as you look back over the history of Huntington Beach. Its whole progression from being a seaside town to primarily agriculture in the early part of the century, and then oil was discovered and everything changed. And as the little town grew up, we added 10,000 people a year between 1960 and 1970. And as the farmlands and the ranches were converted, it's kind of nice to go back and see those touchstones that remind you of how it used to be.
Now down here though, there were oil wells in the parking lot that are capped now, right?
Right.
Well, which wells were those here, as you remember?
So this particular area was part of the old Standard Oil, what they called the B lease. Each of their big leases were lettered A, B, C, D. Within this particular area where the ranch was part of the B lease, and the earliest oil well over on the corner was drilled in 1921.
And there's no sign of it today, right?
You'd have to, no, it's all been capped and cut off 20 feet below grade. So you won't see any relics of the oil wells here today.
And there was one over here behind us as
Yeah,
well.
there were probably a dozen oil wells on this whole site here that one by one in the mid-'80s were capped to make way for the office park.
Guys, what do you think if we do this a little project for our time out here today? This set of photos, Rick, that you brought, what if we go out right now and for the viewers at home, line these up in the exact perspective? I know we all appreciate then and now historic comparisons. These are great because there are little things that are still there today. You can see City Hall, part of Huntington Beach High School, but in just 40 some odd years, a lot has changed. These will be a fun comparison. How about we go find these right now?
That'd be great.
Let's do it.
You know, with the photos that you've both shared today really help us appreciate not just how things were 100 years ago, but these semi-modern shots, these aerials from the 70s and 80s. As we look at those today, what's stunning to me, people may remember the Huntington Beach Playhouse that was in the old barn, where plays were given, and for years that was the theater in Huntington Beach, right?
Right.
And looking at these images today, it really gives you a sense of just the number of structures that were here. It wasn't just the mansion and the silos, there were a lot of support buildings as well, right?
Right. It was I think primarily a horse and like a sheep ranch for a many number of years. You can see in some of the older pictures the riding rings and some of the pens where they kept the animals. I don't know that much about the ranch history. I came in after that, but there certainly is a lot of it to be discovered.
And you also said that before the mansion shut down and all that, you managed to have a few artifacts liberated.
Yes, it's always amazing what you find when you go looking in someone's old garage.
What did you find when you were up there?
And so I found one of the interesting things is an old palm saw that's 6 feet long, has wooden handles on each end, and it took 2 people to maneuver this thing to cut down trees.
And you have that today?
I have that at home today.
And what else?
I also was able to salvage an old tile with the pelican motif on it.
Wow.
Which I have hanging in my entryway at
Connected
home.
probably to Seacliff Village.
Yeah, done by the same artist. I think it was a reject, to be honest with you. There was a couple of tiles that were cracked, and so it was sitting in a box in the garage gathering dust. So I thought that might be kind of nice to save.
Well, listen, both of you guys I know are collectors and purists about your Huntington Beach history, and you both do a really nice job of helping tell the story. This is how histories are saved, by guys like you sharing your information and your artifacts and things, and that's how we fill in all the gaps. So I want to thank you very much for allowing us to, again, I'll never drive by here again and not think of that white picket, the rail fence there, and the cottage style looking house that was right here. And so thank you guys. I want to thank everybody at home as well for watching Hidden Huntington Beach with myself and these guys today. If you have anything you want to share, we have a Facebook group, 15,000 people strong. You can check that out on Facebook. It's called Hidden Huntington Beach. But in the meantime, thank you for watching.